don't know how to do it. And if you don't, okay, you'll be a Blockbuster. You'll be a Woolworths. You will end up being a company that is going to fail because your competition are doing it properly, and now you can't compete.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Next Level Finance Podcast, Series 2, Episode 9, if I get my numbers right. We've got the legendary Richard Evans, who's going to give us so much value. Richard.
Thank you very much indeed for inviting me along, Zee.
Get ready for this. You're going to learn a lot about business and property in this podcast. As I said, welcome to the Series 2, Episode 9 podcast called Next Level Finance Podcast, and we love adding value. And we got a special guest today, Richard Evans, who's going to go through a lot of his journey in property, business. Richard, I was talking to you earlier, and you were saying you've been involved in property for 3 decades.
3 decades, that's right.
Wow. Yeah. And you've helped entrepreneurs scale their business to multi-millions.
Thousands of them, yeah.
Wow. This is the value. Get ready for it, because we're going to go through all of this and get into some real insight, and that's where this man's going to help us a lot. Key focus is, when you're an entrepreneur, one of the best things you can do is get yourself sacked from your own business. And this man is going to show us how to do that. Right, Richard?
Absolutely.
And I love this. So we're going to talk about, as we always love to in our thing, is some personal challenges that you've had, Richard.
Okay, yeah.
And
there's been a few.
Yeah. Do you know what? Every entrepreneur, there's so much of this. And people get inspired and learn for where people have changed and how they found solutions. And one of the ones you were telling me about earlier, you've left corporate world.
Yep.
Which is a challenge in itself.
Yep.
Had a bit of a divorce as well.
Yep.
Tell me how the downsides and upsides and how you dealt with this.
Okay.
Please.
Well, I think everything's about strategy, and the first thing I would say to anybody, if you're thinking about leaving the corporate world, spend a lot of time thinking about it and have a strategy. Okay, don't just go, I think I'm going to leave, and hand your notice in. I strategized over that. It took me 6 months to actually exit that corporate world. And during that 6 months, I was planning what I was going to do next. So that's the first thing that I would say.
And how did you go about planning? That's a really good point, because I did that as well. How did you plan what you were going to do post corporate world?
So first of all, I did some training. I knew that if I was going to do my property business as a full-time career, I needed to educate myself. And I went along to a couple of networking meetings, and I found that as a property investor that had been investing for 30 years, there was a whole lot of stuff I didn't know.
Timelines now, this is?
This would have been 2016 that I made the decision.
Yeah.
And so I thought about, how do I educate myself to get the knowledge that I needed. I decided that I should join a 12-month mastermind program run by PIN Mastermind, run by Simon Zucchi.
So for anybody who doesn't know, he's quite a well-known property trainer, which Richard went down that avenue. And I know a few people have gone down that.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very good mastermind group. So I decided I would join the next one that was kicking off in, I think it was April 2017. So that's what gave me the period now to think, right, okay, so if that's when I'm going to start the mastermind program, I'm going to time that with my exit from the corporate business, and I can really understand what am I going to do next and get that education. So the two sort of things came together. So, you've got to plan as much as possible. One thing that I didn't plan for was the divorce.
Ooh.
So that was a challenge. So I think me leaving a secure job with a very nice salary, thank you very much, and going on my own, I had the confidence in myself, but I think my wife at the time was a little bit worried. And that caused rifts in the marriage, and only after a few months the divorce happened. Well, the divorce didn't happen, but the decision to separate happened.
Wow. And that was it solely down, I know there've been loads of things, but was it solely, the main driving was you transitioning from the corporate to entrepreneur? And it was
No, I wouldn't say that. What happened was it meant I spent more time at home. I found out a lot of things that were going on that I wasn't aware of prior to that. So there were a few things, and then it got to one particular day, and I just thought, this cannot go on. So I actually left. Yeah.
Wow. So so not only have you had a major career change, major life change, and at that long time, how long had you been married for?
Oh, 25 years, I think.
Wow. And I think children as well?
One child,
One child,
who
wow.
thankfully was grown up at that time.
Wow. So now you've gone this crazy period, because it is quite crazy, and now you've got, that's one of the downsides. You had to plan in, which you couldn't plan in, I guess, right? And then you said you found certain aspects on the upsides, which I want to touch into this because, you know, this is a huge turnaround in life, basically. You said you found meditation. Tell me a bit about meditation and how that helped you get through all this.
Okay, so with all of this that happened, I did go on a bit of a downward spiral, and I guess the anxiety and worry started to settle in. And then all of a sudden I thought to myself, you know what, Richard, you can make this destroy you, or you can grow from it.
Yeah.
And I found this other side of me, which when I was in corporate, I didn't know anything about it. And it was the wah-wah side. Okay, right. It was the spiritual side. And so I learned the value of meditation, and I started to meditate.
What was the key benefit of meditation? Was it like it made you sort of stop and be able to just forget the world and go in your own zone too? Is that what the key?
Yeah, calming down the mind. Calming down the mind, and you know, all that noise that's going on, and it's really hard to meditate. Okay, so I've never known anybody say I can meditate and it's easy. It's really, really hard. But you know, and I still find it hard to meditate. Many years later, but it does calm the mind, and you'd be surprised how many entrepreneurs meditate.
It's so important.
Successful people.
So important. And then you said after the meditation, and it's an ongoing thing, as many people find, is, I can't say this, is it Reiki?
Well, actually, Reiki. But before I talk about the Reiki,
please.
I'll talk about how I started to do Reiki.
Yeah, please.
So, with all of this meditation, I started to join some healing circles. And so healing circles are where a group of people get together and they provide space for each other and they share. And basically you can do whatever you like. But everybody has the one common objective, which is to heal. And I had discovered through that I could work with energy, people's energy. And this is what Reiki is all about. It's about working with the chakras and the energy that people give off. And so I started doing Reiki. And then I found that when I was healing other people, I was healing myself.
Wow. So you worked out how to, because everyone's sort of got energy. And we always talk about this, and it's quite a hard thing to obviously show and explain.
You could do a whole series of podcasts just on that, and people do, of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you tapped into that, and you found that it had mutual number of benefits. One, for the person you're helping, and also yourself, because in the process you were sorting yourself out as well.
That's right.
Wow.
And this all happened very, very quickly.
So I guess we were talking about the healing circles, or the other benefits. It's the group support. It's trying to get in an environment. And we do this in so many different ways as humans. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But I've noticed people have a way that are successful. They find a way to be able to get away from the noise, find a safe environment, to be able to do whatever makes them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I've noticed that's a trait with a lot of entrepreneurs that are successful, because you cannot keep on going at 100 miles per hour, as my wife keeps on telling me. It just, you know, your body can't sustain it, can it?
No, it cannot. That's if you try and do that, you end up burnt out. Yeah. That is what burnout is all about. So it is about maintaining your health, your well-being, That's why I'm saying so many people meditate that are successful entrepreneurs and running businesses, and you do have to take time out, you know. And one of the things that I love doing most now that I've managed to now, the stuff we're going to talk about later, I've got time back, and I spend 2.5 days a week looking after my first grandson, Hudson.
Wow, I know I've contacted you. Amazing. So yeah, wow. And I think this is actually quite interesting because this leads on to the name of your business.
Yeah.
Because it's called Awaken to Business.
Awaken
right?
to Business.
Wow. So you had this process,
Yeah, I had
self-healing and other people's healing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it led you to the business called Awaken to Business.
That's right.
Apart from obviously the name,
Mm-hmm.
was it driven by this? That's how you
Yeah.
named it, the business. Wow. Okay.
I went through my awakening and I started to realise that business, there's two aspects here. So, you know, there is P&Ls, budgeting, forecasting, all the numbers stuff, and all of that is very important when it comes to running a business. But there is the other side, looking after yourself, understanding, avoiding burnout, all of those sort of things. And more people are meditating and they are having their own awakening. And so it all started with me thinking, let's provide mentoring services to people
Wow.
about the business, but about the awakening as well. Awaken to business.
Love it. I love it. And do you know what? I love how people, whatever's happening in their lifestyle, they show different ways to deal with it and then illustrate it, because business is made of people. I was talking about earlier, and the people represent the business, and it starts from the entrepreneur, the founder, the owner. And how you lead the business represents your values. I
Totally.
think huge. The other bit, and this would be huge for the demographic who I hear a lot of times have reached the age group of say 50 to 60s or plus, and they say, oh, we're too old to start anything new. Tell us, when did you start this business?
So yeah, I was in my late 50s. I think it was about 58, something like that, when I
Wow.
started. And you know, what you're talking about there is people can always come up with lots of excuses as to why they can't do anything, do something. You know, I'm too old. I'm too young. I haven't got enough money. I haven't got the education. I haven't got the network. I haven't, you know, come up with 100 million reasons why you can't do something. And these are what we call limiting beliefs. Okay, so if you want to go with the limiting beliefs, you will not achieve anything at all.
How do you find, and I think this is such an important thing, so Richard runs a successful business which he started in the late 50s, and we were talking about some entrepreneurs. The legendary is obviously the guy, the Colonel, KFC, and I think Warren Buffett, many people who have been super successful after 50 or 60 years old. His was actually after 60, I think, the Colonel. Everyone knows KFC, right? How did you get over limiting beliefs? Because the world is telling us one thing, all those things that you mentioned, I call it noise, right? How did you overcome that limiting beliefs so the audience can...
Okay, well, it's about mindset. Okay, so there are two different types of mindset. You can either have a growth mindset, which is where you are always thinking about how you can grow as a person, and if people criticize you, you take that, you want to hear people's criticism because you can then work with these things. Okay, that's a growth mindset. Or you can have a limited mindset, and that is where, you know, I just say, I'm not clever enough, I haven't been to the right school, I haven't got the right education, I haven't got the right money, etc. And when people criticize you, you hold that against them. Instead of thanking them, you know, and that is the mindset, and so I've always had that mindset.
Do you know, it's really interesting because I was speaking to an entrepreneur and it stuck with me a couple of things, right? And I think we're going to get onto this is, one, the people you surround yourself, and number two, when you learn from someone when they've given you unexpected feedback, constructive criticism, or when they're just not being very nice. Consider it a blessing because you know their position, and you've got to learn what those traits are so you know how to evaluate and navigate through. Because for me, the number one person that you've got to keep happy is yourself, right? And then you can pass to the people around you. And I think a lot of people get caught in, Joe Blogs, Jane Doe, just random people, right? Oh, they said I can do it. Oh, they can't. And I'm like, but they're not part of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
They are not in your head unless you let them in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you probably dealt with, right?
Yeah, and what you're saying is right. You've got to put your own parachute on first. Okay, so you've got to make sure that you're in a good place so you can help other people. And then you need to be thinking about, okay, so what are my values? So if you look at Awaken to Business, our core value is support.
Yeah.
Okay, so our core value is about helping other people. So, we're offering jobs to people, we're giving them the best support and the best training that we can, so we end up having the best people. We help our clients by giving them maximum value that we can. And part of what we generate as far as revenue, we give back to charities as well.
Wow.
So, that's also important. So it's all about, if you really want to be content, it's about changing lives, isn't it?
I've got to drop a little tax tip, can't help that. If you give contributions to your charity, long as it's a UK registered charity, it's tax deductible against corporation tax. So remember that in peace. It is really important because it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about business challenges because we sort of talk about your personal challenges and you've had a few. The business challenges, I think one of the ones that a lot of people find difficult and they don't like to say is getting understanding of the financials. Yeah. Tell me how you dealt with that or tried to deal with that, because everyone's got a different way they've navigated through that fun.
Yeah, okay. So I think depending on where you are in your journey, you need to surround yourself with the right people. Okay, and depending on where you are with your journey, the right people are going to change. So, when you're first setting up, you need your accounts done and you need an accountant of a certain level. And then as you start to do more business and your business grows, you find that you need more people with different knowledge. So you might need your accountant that is filing your accounts for you. You then find that as your business grows and you're now making money, you need a tax specialist that can advise you on the tax to make sure that you're keeping more of what you earn. And so these challenges, they change as your business grows and as you go on this journey. And I thought my latest challenge was that here I am, I'm the CEO of the business, and I thought I could be an FEO as well. Okay. CFO, it's Chief Financial Officer, yes. I thought I could be a CFO as well. And so I could say to my internal accounts team, I want to see every month the profit and loss report, cash flow summary, and current state of the balance sheet. So I knew what was going on, what was coming at me, and what's the business worth right now. And I started doing these monthly reporting meetings with my accounts team, and they would present. We use Xero. I know you're a big fan of Xero.
Huge.
Yeah. We use Xero for accounts, so they thought they could share with me the Xero report and talk through every single line item, and that is what I needed. And that is so not what I needed. What I needed was, and they'd start talking me through, and I'd say, shush, I can read. You don't need to read it out to me, okay? I'm going to ask you questions. And those questions might be, that item that cost us £5,000 last month, why is it costing us £10,000 this 2 months before? Okay? 2 months ago, it cost us £5,000. Last month, why did it cost us £10,000? And they wouldn't have the answers. Well, I'm an entrepreneur. That's what I want to know. I don't want to know that we spent £15 on some bit of software. Okay. So with the right information, I can make the right decisions, and they could not give me that.
I think there's a difference. I was saying it before, and I think we're getting deep into a bit later. Why the financial challenges are. There's difference between what we call management accounting and financial accounting. Yeah. And it goes over people's heads. They're like, what's the difference? And we'll get really deep into it. I think that's the difference.
That
and
is
also
the difference.
Being able to work with entrepreneurs in a way that they understand so they can make better commercial decisions. And that's a different type of knowledge and a
Very
different way
different, very different.
and people,
and
people struggle.
now I'm not a CEO and a CFO. We now have a CFO, and I meet with the CFO once a month, and that person can give me information that I need to make informed decisions, and they can present it in the right sort of way. And since working with the CFO, we've plugged up so many leaking holes in the bucket.
Wow.
You know, and the forecasting is accurate, and I've got the information that I need. And at this point of my journey, that's really important.
Huge.
But when I started out, you know, that was too far in advance.
Different stages, I think you put in a nutshell, to me, on the aspirations and where you are and what you're trying to achieve and what timescales. I know I've said a lot there. It's you need different requirements, and I think that's really what you were saying.
Yeah.
Another big area of business challenges, I really wanted to get your insight, and I think you can add huge value. This is one massive area. How did you get the right clients who value your services? Because and you were like, oh, that was easy. It is not, because so many entrepreneurs struggle with that, especially when they're providing a service-based business, right? Where even a goods, depending on what level of goods they are, is you don't get the right clients, it just kills everything.
Yeah.
So how did you, and if you share your insights, how did you go about doing that?
So a lot of people, they start a business and they'll think about, oh, I've got a good idea. So it's going to be a service, and they'll go and they'll create this service, whatever it is, and then they go out and they look for the clients that might want to buy their service. Okay, well, that's not what I did. So the first thing, I'm a big believer in networking. And I just mentioned the Mastermind 12-month program. That is networking. You know, you're building connections with all of those people in the room. So I network. I'm also a big believer in investing in myself. I belong to several mastermind groups, and again, that's a journey that you go on, because as you progress, you belong to more smaller networking groups. Yeah. Okay, so you know, one of them that I'm in, it's by invitation only, and it's limited to 15 people. That's a mastermind group. Sorry, I shouldn't say networking. It's a mastermind group. So again, that grows. What was your question? Right. So yes. So by networking and masterminding, you start listening to what people are telling you. Really important. You listen to what people are telling you. And people were saying to me, you know what, I tried outsourcing and, you know, it hasn't really worked for me. And you start talking to people and you find out that the reason why it's not working for various different people is pretty much the same. So you start to identify what is the pain that people are experiencing, and then you come up with something that is going to address that pain. And that's when people then want to do business with you, when you take away their pain, you take away their problem, and you've got a solution to that. So once you've done that, then you can start talking to people, and you will just grow your client base. People will be queuing up to do business with you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think having a mastermind, going to masterminds, and we're part of some of those as well. And what happens is the clients that are there, or other people trying to get value, they've already invested in themselves. So they're not, because you have different levels as an entrepreneur. When you first start, you go to all freebie stuff, right? Not saying it's not a good thing, but generally the people who invest in themselves, they will have a different mindset, and they will know key things they need to deliver in their business. They'll be able to understand value and appreciate value. I think that's the differentiator. Now that's what I found with masterminds. And it also depends on the culture and the framework of the mastermind.
Well, it changes, doesn't it? So I mentioned, you know, the PIN mastermind group run by Simon Zucci, and it's fantastic. And for me, right then, it was exactly what I needed. After that, I then continued to invest myself by joining Property Entrepreneur, which is run by Daniel Hill and Adam Goff. And so I've been on that.
Have you found the difference between, we're getting into some of these things where people may be looking in the group, have you found from Simon's Zushi's mastermind going on to the properties.
So they're completely different. Yeah. So Simon's mastermind group is all about property, and it's about property strategies and going deep into there. And you learn about, service accommodation, HMOs, how to get it right, how to avoid mistakes. They have speakers coming along. So it is for people that are serious about their property business and they want to grow and scale that. Okay, and I'm one of the trainers for PIN. Property entrepreneur is about business. And it's very different.
Okay.
It's not necessarily about property, even though it's called property entrepreneur. It's actually about how to run and scale a profitable business, and you can apply what you learn there to any business really. And it's about meeting the right people, getting the right knowledge that you need. And it's all about the business seasons and what you do at different times of the year, and accountability, and there's all sorts of things built into it. So this is why I've been on it for 8 years.
Wow, okay. So you're a big fan of that then,
I'm a big fan of that, and it gives me the discipline and accountability that I need to do what I know I need to do, but I actually execute on it.
Wow, and I think you mentioned where we've met is through the St Albans Property.
St Albans Property.
And everyone who follows us, we have
Hemel and St Albans Property.
Hemel and St Albans Property Meet. How can I forget Hemel, being born and bred in Hemel?
HSP.
But I think these are different aspects, but what it is, when you meet other like-minded entrepreneurs, it helps so much.
Oh yeah.
Because you get to build rapport.
Yeah.
So important. And I think we always have a little cliche, which obviously you're going to mention now. What is the cliche which everyone goes on about? Something about your net worth and all the rest of it.
Oh, sorry, that one, yes. Your net worth, your network is your net worth.
And I know people use a cliche, but I think we've illustrated and probably articulated why that is so important.
Surrounding yourself with the right sort of people. They say that you become the same as the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So just going back to the mastermind group, so property entrepreneur for 8 years, but I'm also on a couple of other ones right now. 3 at the moment. So the next one is called Josh Keegan's Mastermind.
What does that do?
So that is by invitation only, and it's limited to 15 people. We meet once a month in the Belfry in Birmingham. So a very nice 5-star hotel. We have a meeting room there. We have dinner together, and we just talk about our challenges, our problems, and they're all at that level, so we can all help each other with the challenges that they may have. And again, accountability. If you say you're going to do something, you're not going to turn up at the next meeting and then say, no, I didn't do it.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so that's Josh Keegan's. Then I'm also in, and again, this is a PIN one, it's Simon Suchi, and that is called Mastermind Next Level. So you have to have done the mastermind. You have to have reached a certain, certain level to be in Mastermind Next Level.
Yeah. I think Richard's dropped a lot of insight and value how he's done his journey. I always say to people, do your own research, your own due diligence, because everything is different for different people. But if you're in as an entrepreneur, you can't fail by being around other entrepreneurs, and especially if they're like-minded. But you build that rapport, because your network will help you, also help facilitate growth, especially if you're in a service-based business. Even certain goods-based businesses, if you've got good that people need in that section. So it can be a win-win. You're gaining the knowledge and you're growing your business.
Yeah, and there are 2 sides to this. So it's about surrounding yourself with the right people. And a lot of property people find this, that property investors, they start getting interested in property, and they think they want to invest in property, and then they speak to maybe family members, maybe their parents or whatever, and they say, oh, you don't want to do that, it's such high risk, and what do you want to go and do that for? Why are you spending this money on some kind of training course? You're going to join some kind of and they get all of this negative stuff from these people that have got limited beliefs and limited mindset and not a growth mindset, and they pull them down. Okay,
it's huge.
So it's important that you pick who you're surrounding yourself.
So I think Richard's made a massive point there. Any entrepreneurs, you're only Your only ceiling is the one that's in your head,
Yeah.
right? If you feel you can, and through knowledge you can achieve anything, and I think Richard's side, age, anything is not a problem unless you make it a problem.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about something else I always ask on, for your approach, because you can see Richard's got a certain style of approach. Everyone's got their own style. How do you build rapport in your sense? So you meet potential relationships from a supplier, client potential, or people you can help in so many different ways. How do you build rapport with people?
So, you know, the biggest thing is to listen. What do they say? You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that proportion. So when I say listen, you need to do deep listening. Most people, when they're having a conversation with somebody, they're thinking about what they're going to say next instead of listening to what that person is saying. Mm-hmm. So how do I build rapport? So the first question I would normally ask somebody is, tell me a little bit about yourself. Mm. And you listen to what they're saying. And you never know where it's going to come from, but you're going to have something in common. There will be common ground. There could be lots of common ground. Talk about divorce. I've now got a wonderful woman in my life. And when I first met her, we started chatting. And we were similar age. We both run our own businesses. We both were investing in property. We both had 1 daughter. And they were a similar age.
Wow.
Can you imagine that, you know, just within an hour or 2, we built such a rapport, and now, of course, she is my life partner. Wow. So, you know, listen and look for the common ground, and don't be thinking about what you're going to be saying next. Then it happens naturally.
I think that's such an important aspect, and people overlook that, but it's so important, especially when you're trying to build rapport, because yes, you do need to get the balance to actually know the things, but by deep listening, you let the conversation flow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all you're doing is both talking at the same time.
Yeah.
And
not interested in what the other person's got to say.
And I think that's so important. I think the other bit that you mentioned really sort of blew my mind, sort of thing, in the sense that you were saying about not thinking about your offer, but when you're having a conversation with someone, but how can you add value? Can you sort of articulate more? Because you said you had an example this morning, literally of this.
Yeah. Okay, right. So too many people, they start the let's call it a sales call, a sales conversation, okay? They start the conversation, like I say, they're not deep listening, they're not listening to the other person. What they want to do is to get to the bit of the conversation when they can pitch their product, okay? It's not going to work very well. So, for instance, we're moving very much into AI in what we're doing. And somebody booked a call with me, and the call they booked was a strategic growth call where we were due to talk about how to embed AI into their business. And so I run through, you know, a series of different questions when I'm doing this, and the person came on, and I said, "Tell me a bit about yourself." So he started to tell me about himself and how long he'd been in business and what he'd done and what he was doing, and he had plenty of time because he was implementing systems and a lot of the stuff that we do. So that bit of paper with some questions on it, might as well rip that up and throw it in the bin. So after he told me a little bit about it, the next question I asked him was, what would you like to get out of this call? Okay, and then he told me what his ideal scenario was from how to move this forward from the call. And we were chatting for an hour, I think. It was on Zoom. We were chatting for an hour. And as a result of that, I will now go back to him with a detailed proposal of exactly how we can help him going forward. And now I believe he can become a true client, a good client who we are providing a lot of value to, And yeah, you know, he's getting exactly what he needs. So we will tailor whatever it is we do for him based on what his pain is.
I think that's so important, and that's where the key is, right? Sort of letting someone advise you,
Yeah.
and opening that trust up, because it's not easy.
No.
Because I think a lot of people hear snippets. I have it a lot in my industry. ChatGPT, an interesting aspect. It's good up to about 70-80% get an idea of, but you have to know what you're asking and also know what it means.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unless you've trained to be a professional in that area, you're going to struggle.
Oh, so many people do. Yeah. You know, AI, Chat GPT, this, that, and the other. Everybody's talking about it. But basically, if you put, I'm not allowed to say crap. I've just said it. If you put crap in, you're going to get crap out. So yeah, you know, it's a skill. You have to know how to give it the right prompts and get the best out of it, and then it will only give you 80% of what you need. Okay, so it's not, AI is not replacing humans, it's helping humans work better.
I agree. I think in enhancing, and I think that's going to be the big difference. Right? You mentioned something else, and it was really interesting. It'd be hopefully entrepreneurs will find this useful as well. What's the task triangle strategy? You mentioned that, and I was like, okay, what is that? Tell the audience what you mean by that.
So in principle, it means that you're building a team of people that are doing tasks, and you have to pay the right person the right rate to do the right task. So you never underpay people and you never overpay people. And you will find in your business that there are a lot of things that are urgent. They need to be done now. And those things don't necessarily provide high value. They're just things that have to be done. So your lowest paid people, who are your administrators, etc., that have the lowest skill, those are the people that you pay the lowest rate to do these time-consuming tasks, a lot of the stuff that needs to be done. Then, as your business grows, you start to introduce another layer above them. And these are the people that are leading or managing that team of people. And they're doing less hours, and the role that they're doing is more important and less urgent, and you pay them a higher rate for what they do. And then you might have above them, as your business grows a bit more, what we call a senior leadership team. So my senior leadership team, if you like, they're my directors. They're doing the least number of hours, the highest paid, and they're doing high value work. They are, if you like, advisors to me, consultants to me, like I say, directors. They're helping me run the business. And then there's me, who is the highest paid person that's childminding for half the week. I am the CEO, okay? So I'm making ultimate decisions. I'm taking the ultimate responsibility with that team around me. So that's what the task triangle is. It is highest value at the top, lowest value at the bottom, highest paid at the top, lowest paid at the bottom, right person, right role, right task, never underpay, never overpay.
Wow, there's a lot of learnings in that. I think we touched on it earlier, and this is quite an important one. I think you mentioned how have you learned the difference between being a CEO and compared to the CFO? Right? For people who don't know, CEO is Chief Executive Officer or Operator if you're in UK or US, and CFO is Chief Finance Operator or Officer, whether you're UK or US. Yeah. And it basically, one's like running the organisation, conventionally known as MD, Managing Director, and the other one's like a Finance Director. That's what the CFO.
That's right, yeah.
So what do you feel the big difference for you? We were touching on it because
I did touch on it.
Yeah.
So that's right. So this was, it was a painful lesson that I learned, thinking I can be the managing director, CEO, chief executive officer, the person at the top running the business, and also I could be the CFO or financial director. So I thought it's simple. Yeah, it's simple. Well, I know about business. I know how to read a balance sheet. I know how to look at profit and loss, and I've got an accounts team. So I'll be also the CFO. I'll let them present the data to me, and then I can make informed decisions about running my business. And this went on for several months, and they're just boring the pants off me because I'm an entrepreneur and I don't like details. Okay, they're boring the pants off me. I can understand exactly what they're telling me, but I don't need to know. Okay, the stuff they're telling me, I don't need to know that to make informed financial decisions. And then I was chatting to somebody, and he said, "Well, of course," he said, "this is a mistake that a lot of people make because you're an entrepreneur. You don't like details. You want to be able to make decisions based on being given the right information, and that." No offence, they're accountants, and you're not like your typical accountant, I must say. They're accountants, so they love the detail, and they're following a process, and so they think differently to you, and that is where it's not really working very well. And this person explained to me the true value of a finance director or a CEO, that they can take the data that they're in control of, and then they can present it to you in a way that you need it so you can make those informed decisions. And so now I get a proper monthly meeting with my finance director, and we have identified, it's been a breath of fresh air.
Wow.
Okay, it really has.
I think the difference is what we call management accounts and to help financial management.
Yeah.
Because as your business grows, it's like what Richard was mentioning earlier, you go through cycles. So you're at the growing phase or starting phase where you're just trying to get stuff done and try to get sales and cash in.
Yeah.
Then you get to a point you're like, oh, I've done well, I've got past that. Now can I look forward to know where I'm going to end up?
Yeah.
What's holding my business back? What does this relate in? Have I got enough money, cash? What's the numbers? Where I'm going to end up? Tax, which we're going to touch on. All of this. This is more financial management and not just looking in your rear view mirror, but you're actually looking ahead. And this is where entrepreneurs constantly struggle because it's a different skill set.
It is so much a different skill set.
And you need to be able to make a commercial decision. So you don't want to know what all the ins and outs are. You're like, what's the net impact? What do I have to do? When do I have to do it? And what's the benefit of me doing it? And what pain is it going to relieve for me?
Do you know? Yeah. Can I tell you a little story here?
Yeah, go on, please.
Okay, so this is how working with somebody that really gets this helps. So our biggest client, they were spending a lot of money with us. And I'm looking at the invoices that are going out, and I'm thinking, this is really, really good. But they were on a discounted rate. Okay, and working with this finance director, what I realised that there's people you need to turn down, and there's people you need to say no to. Now we had this client spending thousands with us every month, but because they were paying a low rate, they were pulling down the net profit of the business, and so we let them go. Which caused some temporary immediate pain, but it puts the business long term in a stronger position. And yeah, when you start up a business, you'll take anybody. A sale is a sale. You'll take any client on board. As your business grows, you can afford to be more choosy, and you learn that there are clients that you need to say no to, because they're the ones that are going to cost you money.
I think, Richard, you've added a huge value add there. It's called margin, right? So just because you're getting income and cash coming in doesn't mean it's making you money. Because you've got to look at the cost of servicing it and work out what we call gross margin. And that's what these management accounts are all about. Yeah.
Right? Well, so too many people, they look at the top line, the revenue. This is how much it's pulling in. Okay, and then, what they don't, and most people don't understand the difference between gross and net margin. Should I just quickly explain that?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah,
please.
okay. So your gross margin is your revenue less your cost of sale. So in order to make that sale, I've got to buy these materials, or I've got to pay these labourers or whatever. And when you deduct that off, okay, then you've got your gross margin, your gross profit, that's what you've made. But there's then the next level, and that is how much does it cost you to run the business? These are the overheads. And so you can make high gross margin, but if it's costing you too much to run the business, you're going to make a net loss. So it's actually not about revenue. Gross profit is important, but the key one is the net, the bottom line, not the top line, net profit of what you're actually making.
I'm going to add another layer. It depends on your business model. I'll
Sure.
explain why, because you have lifetime value of a client.
Yeah.
So depending on what business model you are,
Yep.
this can change.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
some businesses, you have to have like a little loss leader, they call
Yeah.
it, for revenue driving.
Yep.
Because when they exit the sale,
Yep.
because entrepreneurs should be thinking, what does the exit look
Yeah,
like?
yeah.
And how I pay my bills. Because if the exit is based on your revenue multiplier, or something called, going to get technical, EBITDA,
Yeah.
earnings before interest and tax, depreciation, amortization, it can be valuable if you can see the longer picture,
Yeah.
and you sort your pricing out.
That is so true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's so many commercial decisions depending on your business model.
Yeah.
But what Richard's trying to say is, if you don't make profit and you keep that in the longer term, you will fail.
Yeah.
So you need to work out what that is. I'm going to get on to the next bit, which is one of my favorite areas. Tax insights versus the real world, right? People don't really understand when we're talking about this, because you have accounting, we just talked about financial management, both really important, right? But often the area is, how much money am I keeping after all this fun, right? Because you can make profit, but you can get a chunk taken from the old tax man, if I'm allowed to say that these days. How did you come across this, and how are you dealing with it?
Yeah. So, it's not about what you earn, it's about what you keep. And and also, and I forget which is which, so there's tax avoidance and there's tax evasion. One of them, you'll end up in prison. Or you can end up in prison.
Well, there's a third category now,
Yeah.
because we're living in these crazy times. Even when you say tax avoidance, it's like become a swear word. You have to say tax planning.
Tax planning, yeah.
Right.
I'm an old codger, so I'm using old language.
No,
But
it
yeah,
used to be
tax
fine.
planning.
It's just in the modern day world, especially our friend David Cameron, he's made that a swear word as well. So you have to have tax planning.
So tax planning. So it is really, really important. Again, it's all about surrounding yourself with the right people, and having those people that you can turn to that can help you with your tax planning. And you don't need to try and work it all out yourself. Okay, get the right person, and they will advise you. And Zee, you will, I'm sure, echo what I'm saying. There are so many people running businesses that have got so many benefits available to them, and things that, like, do I lease a car? Do I buy a car? Do I have a petrol? Do I have a diesel? Do I have an electric? Etc. Etc. There's all these benefits, and as a business owner, you can't expect to understand them all. So find somebody that you can talk to who does understand it, and they will make sure that you, and again, drawings, do I pay myself a dividend or do I pay myself a salary? So get a specialist with the specialist knowledge, and then they will tell you how to organise your business so that it's tax efficient. And
I think Richard is so important. I think it's a wealth strategy, which we were talking about, because one thing you're doing is, as an entrepreneur, you have to wear so many hats.
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur myself and yourself, right? We're first business owners, then we do our profession or whichever industry we're trading or holding property for investment. It's how do I put all this jigsaw together? Right, so a lot of times we're focusing, and a lot of people don't even focus, is how do I grow the business, scale it, all the things we just talked about, and we're going to talk a bit more about these. And then it's how do I retain that money to make in a legal way, and then to use that to make more money, because it's a domino effect, it's a net impact. We're going to talk about now future plans in the last bit of the podcast, and I hope you gain huge value, because I've learned a lot from Richard talking to him about it. So what's your future plans? You were talking about continuing Awaken to Business. What's the plans going forward for Awaken to Business?
So for Awaken to Business, well, first of all, I'd like to just talk about, again, another lesson that I learned is, and you talked about selling your business, and this person said to me, and I think it's very, very good advice. It doesn't matter if you plan to sell your business or not. You should design your business as if you're going to sell it. Because if you ever go to sell a business and you haven't got the systems in place, you haven't got the processes, you haven't got operations manuals, you haven't got all of the things that you need to sell your business, nobody's going to buy it. Okay, it's got to be, and it will take you years if you leave it too late. So start at the beginning as if you want to sell your business, and who knows, you may not, you may do, you may not. For me, I have built my business as though I'm going to sell it, but I don't intend to sell it.
Huge.
I don't know if I will.
But there's a few different exits. I think what people don't realise is that most entrepreneurs, going back to what we were saying earlier, they don't know whether there's going to be other reasons why they have to sell it, because we don't know when we're going to leave this planet, for example. We don't know when something may happen that we cannot run it anymore, or so many other factors. If you act like the way you're mentioning, is you're in a position, and then if you've got it structured correctly, for example, both operationally, financially, all of these, then it's an easy decision.
It is an
right?
easy decision.
And sometimes this decision is forced upon you, not
you don't
of
know.
your own choice.
That's right.
And then sometimes your lifestyle changes,
Yeah.
something else comes
Yeah.
up and you're like, do you know what? I've had my time.
Yeah.
Everyone has different reasons. Some people, they're doing businesses like I was talking about Warren Buffett. I forgot the gentleman next to him who I think passed, but they were in their 90s, right? And they were still running it really successfully. So it depends on every individual what they see as their way of exit. But prepare for it as it is.
And there's different exits at different stages, but we're probably going into too much detail then.
But it's important to be aware of it. I think the other bit, as I can see on Richard's t-shirt, the trading name of Awaken to Business is Vava Room. Is that right? Or
no, right. So let's just explain that so we've got some clarity. So Awaken to Business is the business. That is the company. It's registered at Companies House and etc. etc. So that is the business, and it provides services to business owners and entrepreneurs that want to grow and scale. One of those services is Vavavum. Okay. Another one is...
Before we go on there, what does Vavavum do?
Right, so Vavavum, we recruit virtual assistants in the Philippines.
Wow.
Okay, we train them in how to do stuff, whether it's marketing, bookkeeping. We have a Vavavum way of working. Okay, so a lot of people said to me, going back to the very beginning of this conversation, people saying, I had tried working with a VA and it hadn't worked for me, and I found the common mistakes that people made when working with VAs and outsourcing. So identifying the problem, coming up with a solution. That solution is Vavavum. This is where we not only recruit the VAs, we have a process, we have a way of working. We train them in how to work the Vavavum way. We train them in things that they might need to know, bookkeeping, property management, whatever it is. The client comes on board. We then will give them a trained virtual assistant that is supported by us to do stuff within their business, and we mentor the client in how to avoid all of those common mistakes that people make and understand the culture in the Philippines and all the stuff so that they're going to get it right.
Excellent. There's so much, and to be honest, I benefit some of that as well. I definitely think it's a good idea to look into that. Your time is so important. We're going to touch on, because obviously you've only a few minutes left of the podcast, AI. And everyone talks about this, but tell me how you guys are scaling it and how you're utilizing it and providing it to other entrepreneurs.
Right. Okay. So AI. So first of all, there's a lot of panic. People thinking AI within the workplace. Okay. People thinking AI is going to take my job. It's going to replace me. And then you've got business owners that are going, I've heard about this AI. I use a bit of ChatGPT or whatever. Oh gosh, maybe I should be thinking about this and how do I implement that within my business, but they don't know how to do it. And if you don't, okay, you'll be a Blockbuster. You'll be a Woolworths. You will end up being a company that is going to fail because your competition are doing it properly, and now you can't compete. So it is important that every business owner gets this. However, you don't need to become an AI expert. So it is about, as a business owner, using AI tools to help you strategize and create your vision. What we do at Scale House is, when we understand your vision, we will then help you through Scale House embed the AI technology that you need within your business operations.
Wow.
And we will give you a team that are AI tuned. They know how to use this stuff. So you don't have to learn all about prompt engineering and this, that and the other. You've got a team. And AI is changing all the time. You know,
Rapid.
it's always changing. What's great today could be out of date tomorrow. So it's an ongoing process. So we'll take care of your operations. We will give you an AI tuned team that are using AI tools, assets for you to run your business with maximum efficiency, but also understand it does not replace human beings. Okay, it does not replace jobs. It changes jobs. AI will get you 80% there, but you still need the people that have got the skills, that are checking the results, and they just get it. And it is the coming together of technology and human beings to work together in a much more profitable and efficient manner.
I think you put it in a nutshell, and this is where everyone's got to look at it, because your role and the way you do stuff is going to change in all professions, including mine. So it's going to be quite interesting. We're going to finish on one of your aspirations, and we wanted to touch on, is the transition between chairman and from CEO, which you are
CEO
currently. Please explain the difference between a chairman and a CEO, just for people, because this is your exit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So a CEO, we talked about the task triangle. A CEO sits at the top of that task triangle, and he's got a board of directors that are reporting into him or her, and all the various different people, and they are the people that are running the business. So the CEO trickles down with the vision and everything else for the business, how it's going to go. That is a CEO. A chairman reports to the shareholders.
Yep.
So the CEO will report to the chairman, and the chairman reports to the people that own the business. And the people that own the business can be very, very different to the people that are running the business. They're not one and the same. So that is what the difference is between the two roles.
It's a non-executive director compared to an executive director. And what that means, as you rightly said, is the directors are doing the operations.
Yep.
And the non-executive director is supposed to be that evaluation to the stakeholders, which
To the
tend to
stakeholders,
be
yeah,
the
the
investors.
shareholders,
It's
yeah.
huge difference. So,
Big difference.
So it also, because a lot of people have this in that role where they spend a lot of time building a business. They were a founder. They don't want that active role. They want someone else to do it. They put the business in process, but they want an oversight.
Yeah.
And that's when they end up being the chairperson
That's
or
right.
chairman or chair lady,
Yeah.
as a non-exec, and they put other people in that position. And it's growing, especially as you get a bigger business.
Yeah, as you get a bigger business. And right now, I love this business. You know, we live by our values. For me, this business is about having the maximum impact on people's lives, and we donate a lot of money to charity. For the Philippines, there's a lot of poverty in the Philippines, so it's about giving back to the Philippines. In the Philippines, changing people's lives, whether they are people that are living, in squats, that have got no money at all and are working on, doing very unpleasant work just to put a bit of food on the table, literally being paid just a few pounds or earning a few pounds a month. So we partner with a charity there in the Philippines so we can help people there. When we give good jobs to people, we pay well. Okay, we're not a £3 an hour employer. We pay well. I've got people in my team that are also property investors in the Philippines, and they're buying new cars and they're going on holidays to Singapore, Australia, whatever. So they're earning good money. We're changing their lives, but we're not just changing their lives. We're changing their families' lives, because they tend to live together. They might have 4 generations, all in one house.
Amazing.
So yeah, when we give a good job to somebody, we're changing a lot of lives, and of course changing our clients' lives.
Wow.
To have a really good, profitable, successful business.
Wow, and Richard's sort of giving you a masterclass. We focus on his trading businesses and a bit around his property journey as well. And he's used trading businesses to invest in property, which is something that every entrepreneur should think about, diversifying that risk. Richard, you've been so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Zee. It's been a real pleasure.
I've really enjoyed it, and you've given us so much insight. And I know the entrepreneurs watching who are in property and trading business, they're going to love this. And we're going to put Richard's details on the post and on the YouTube and all the rest of it on the socials, so you can get in touch with him, because he loves speaking to entrepreneurs and helping them.
Really do.
Thank you so much for being on the Next Level Finance podcast. It was series 2, episode 9. Make sure you check it out. Thank you so much.